Hey, it's Renee Bird, and I'm here for season 4 and have an incredible guest. Her name is Sarah Haran, and she's a luxury bag designer. I know, ladies, don't all crush at once. She is incredible and created a beautiful brand, but her story is really interesting. She wasn't always in the luxury designer bag world. She come from the fintech or tech world. So she's got so much to share about that experience. So I'd like to welcome Sarah Haran. How are you?
Hey there, Rennie, and everybody else listening. Thank you so much for having me. That's so kind of you. It's great to have the opportunity to tell other people my story. Yeah.
Absolutely. And we just want to start from the beginning. I've seen your bags, and thank you so much for my grace. Your bags are beautiful, very functional. This is the word, functional and beautiful. And there's obviously a story behind that. But if you tell me your journey, what would you do before this, and how did you get into the luxury bag designer industry?
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, I'm not by trade a handbag designer. I didn't go to lots of schools to learn anything about handbag design, really. Not in the early days. I was working in tech. I seem to have just landed up in tech. And during the course of my tech career, I remember going to a really big tech conference in San Francisco, and somebody said to me, "Oh, what do you do when you're not sort of doing this tech stuff?" And I was like, "Hmm, yeah, that's a really good question." And I realized actually that somewhere along the line of working and starting and working in a business that was tech and having kids, my own hobbies had just kind of fallen along the wayside.
Mm.
So I kind of decided that I would start to do something. And I used to make clothes when I was at school and all through probably most of my adult life. But the thought of going back and making clothes, it just didn't really entertain me. So I thought, well, there's shoes or there's bags. And I thought shoes, I think that's inherently difficult.
Mhm.
And at least when you're making bags, you use quite a lot of the same skills as dressmaking. So I thought, yeah, well, I'll give it a go. I'm going to make handbags. So that was really how it started. Um, and it kind of grew from there. Because we were really building business types or offering business services really just as the internet started. So I know it's hard to imagine that the internet didn't always exist, but it
Right.
genuinely didn't. And so the company I was working with was right at the start. And we wanted to get people onto the internet and we wanted to build websites for people. So we started in the office, just asking everybody, does anybody know anyone that wants a website? And people were like, what's a website?
No.
Like, oh. Yeah, and because people didn't know what it was, we ended up having to use friends and family and anyone that we knew that had a small business. So I had set up um, just really a little website just as a playing thing. And we had this software and it was like templated software. Nowadays you've got Shopify. In those days, Shopify just started. Very few companies had all the templated websites that you can just click and build like you can today. And you can have a website done in about 10 minutes. But back in those days, you couldn't. So we decided to build one for my handbag business, which wasn't really a business at all. It was just a hobby. But we used that as a vehicle to then explain how a website worked and how you could get onto the internet and people would find you and you might be able to sell your product sometime in the future. So that was how it all kind of started. Um, and after that, funnily enough, the website started to get a few clicks through, a tiny bit of traffic. Um, and eventually that completely grew. And in 2017, I decided that it would be a good idea to fully concentrate on running my bag business. By this time, the business I was working for was one of the UK's biggest cloud computing companies. We'd had gone on to the AIM stock exchange. So we were pretty big and we'd raised money. We raised 20 million.
Wow.
So we were kind of big. And I was on the board. So the leaving wasn't a straightforward thing. And I
Right.
did lots of planning to get there. So yes, it was literally from tech um, to handbags.
Wow.
Really, a very strange thing to
No,
do.
it's but it's a love and it's obviously a passion. And I'm a strong believer that you should always try, if you can, to elude your passion. That's what drives us. A lot has happened since the pandemic. I don't like to use that word because it was an awful time, but in some cases, it was a great time because people then created something new. And I think what happened as a result, people said, who am I? This whole thing, not to be, excuse the pun, but what am I doing? What's my purpose? What makes me happy? What's my bliss? And from that, so many beautiful things were born. And the fact that you've then gone for your passion and something that you enjoy doing, and now it's something that you are doing and you're giving that gift to other people, that's incredible. It really is.
Yeah, no, yeah, and yeah, thank you, thank you. And you're right, actually, because when I think back on in the tech world, you always have things that happen that create a new way of doing things. I
Yeah.
think tech in itself is an enabler of that anyway. And I think if there was any good that came out of COVID, it was the ability for people to have that time to think about what they wanted to do, and then to be able to use existing technology to have the option to do something different. Because if you think about it, if we didn't have the internet, you'd still be going to shops in the more traditional way, and it wouldn't be that easy to just go and create a new business. Yeah, I'm sure there would have been something else, but I think that the tech enabled people to have that new way of looking at things post COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
No, it's very interesting. And then when we speak about your bags, what I've had a look at some reviews, they say they're beautiful, which they are, ladies and gentlemen, or ladies, but they're functional. They're not just a bag. They've got so much more going on than a bag, and they help you with all the different things that we have to do as women. They say it's a bottomless pit, our bag. I've got everything in my bag, but your bag gives us the functionality to be able to move from the office and then go out at night. So talk about that for me.
yeah. So when I was thinking about, when I first started, I was just making bags and I hadn't really got my head around the functionality particularly. But the
Mm-hmm.
one thing I did know was that I used to get really cross with bags that always looked amazing on the outside, but on the inside didn't really help you. So most of the money in a bag goes on the outside. And if they're going to cut corners to save costs, they'll do that on the inside. So that would mean that you might have no pockets, you might have one pocket. What you will definitely not have is any thought about the function of the interior. And when you
Mm-hmm.
think about it, you want it to look beautiful on the outside, but you do want to be able to go to a meeting or go to wherever you're going and be able to find your stuff, be able to store it inside, and know that you're not going to be the person that goes into the meeting and then is rumbling around at the bottom of your bag.
Don't
Um,
mind.
I just Yeah, exactly, yeah, and because you wanna go into that meeting, often you've got that 3-second thing where you need to come across as really, you've got that 3 second to show who you are, and if their impression is, "Oh, yeah, that's that girl that came in and she spent 10 minutes hunting around the bottom of her bag for a pen," and
Yeah,
you lose that, and people do make these terrible judgments.
they
So
do.
for me, um, I wanted to make sure that the bags had some function, um, and also the whole day to night thing started really because I was traveling a lot and I was ending up having to put a smaller bag into my suitcase to then be able to go out at night.
I get it.
And since I was already making bags, I was like, this isn't really very helpful. It's not really helping me. So
Mm,
if it's not helping me, there must be other girls that are having this same problem and
mm,
want a solution. So I set about then trying to do something that would go from day to night. And we started with the Dahlia, and that was really this popper system that I invented that enables you to take the front pouch off, and then use that pouch on its own. And
yeah.
then it kind of moved on that then you could change the look of your bag in seconds just by us creating lots of different accessories. Um, and these accessories are intrinsic to the bag rather than it just being, oh, a strap which you could buy anywhere. It was a strap that fitted on particularly and then could be used across all our range. So every accessory can be used. So you're not just buying a one off for one type of bag. I was
Mm,
really spent a lot of time just thinking around that functionality that moved the pieces across so that if you made your initial investment, you then had a bag that you could use for all occasions and for everything that you needed to be able to do.
Mm.
So slightly different. And actually, one of the things that you have in with handbag companies in particular is it can be a very one-off sale.
Yeah.
Often in tech, you don't have that problem because you're selling support services, or you're selling a wrap around the technology or its software, and it's got this recurring monthly revenue.
Yeah.
And so again, when I was thinking about what the foundation is for this business, what would make it what would enable it to grow and scale? Well, if I had something that people wanted to come back and purchase from me on a regular basis, that would be much better than just doing a sort of a one-off sale.
Mm.
Because typically, funnily enough, most females only maybe buy two handbags is the average for purchase of a handbag in the UK.
Oh,
So I
wow.
was thinking, oh my God, yeah, that's a lot of advertising, a lot of marketing
Mm.
for one sale or for two sales. So how can I use the whole function and my background in tech to create something that would give me the recurring revenue model?
I like that.
So that's what I
I didn't
managed to
realize
do.
that. I always thought that everyone, I've got so many bags, it's ridiculous, but I've got a bag for
Yeah,
different feelings, for different outfits. But you're right, if I
yes,
could have a bag that I could just take and then I could just take that bag on holiday, perfect. Because we have so much
yeah,
stuff we're bringing with us. So I think that's great that
good.
it's functional because the thing you can
Yeah,
pop up and then it becomes a little clutch, which is amazing.
that's yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
Really.
quite hard to get the concept over to people. That's
Mm.
the bit I never thought about. I was like, "Oh, this will be easy. People will understand." But actually, a website is often not the best place to get that over. So we have to use a lot of imagery and videos just to get people to understand the concept.
But
But
once they
once they
get
do,
it, they then want to buy because you've got like things that tassels you can add and all these different things. So personality, a little bit
yeah,
leopard skin if you like that. So that's nice, isn't it? So you create a whole new
yeah,
bag.
it's nice.
Something.
Exactly, and no bag needs to look the same because we provide lots of different accessories. So that for me is quite uplifting that all females are able to create their own version of the bag and add their own personality to it. Because not everybody likes leopard print, not everybody likes flowers. Not everybody likes a bag with extra things on. So just a pop of color. So there's all these opportunities to be able to do that with our bags.
Yeah,
That whole customization element is nice.
I like that. And what's your age range of bags? You've got different bags that for children, as in young girls, teenagers. Who do you tend to, what's a demographic that tends
So,
to
yeah, our demographic tends to be 35 plus.
okay.
Uh, we don't do any children bags, though I'm often tempted.
Mm.
Um, but I think there is with handbags, it's such a an emotional purchase as well. So what we found is that the older you get, you kind of realize you don't always have to have the best well-known designer. If you think from your career, handbag is a very simple way, like shoes, to be able to show a bit of status or that how you're doing. You might purchase because you want something to last a bit longer. So these are where we sort of compete at that early bit. And then by the time people got to 35, they kind of think, well, actually, I'd like to look at some independent brands, what else is out there. And that's where we seem to start to play quite well because we're still quite small. We're growing every day, and we've grown phenomenally over the last 6 years. But we are up against, the big boys,
Yeah.
the Mulberries, the Pradas, they've got a couple of hundred years on us. So
Yeah,
yeah.
you're right. I think it's the timelessness,
Um,
isn't it? When I look for a bag and I, have a few of the names you mentioned, but I like the classic one. So it can follow me for as long as it wants to, as long as I keep it up. I put it in this, bag, its bag, because it has its own bags, and it keeps it
yes, that's right.
protected. All those things are important. So the classic timeless nature of it is really important. And any brands
Yes.
that have that signature, they're the ones that I love. Anything that's a bit too noisy and busy, they tend to be for a trend, don't they? So
They
that
do.
tends
It's very trendy, yeah. And in a way, these trends are well represented with our bags because we've gone for sort of the very classic. Everything I've done is very classic, and I think that adding that versatility and functionality is easier to a classic type style. And we're tending to work quite a lot with business ladies and with women that already kind of know where they are. They've got the confidence to do something a little bit different.
Yes.
But if there is a trend out there, everyone's talking about metallics at the moment. So
Mm,
that's great. They could get a metallic tassel from us or a metallic pouch to put onto the bag. So you can play to these trends, but then still be chic and more classic when you go to work, for instance.
mm,
So that's quite a nice way of using our bags and covering all these trends as well.
I love that. And then also, also about we talk about sustainability. We're in a world where it's forever changing. What does that look like for your brand? Because it's really important to a lot of people now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's a thing. All our bags are classic full grain Italian leather.
Mhm.
So there are many people that would say, "Oh, leather is bad for the environment and all the rest of it." But actually, all the replacement leathers at the moment are the ones that are much more um, not as good for the environment, just because of the chemicals that are still in them. At
Yeah.
least with leather, it will disintegrate itself over time. And so you could be reassured by that. But
Mhm.
with us, the fact that you could have the one bag and then change the look of it, you therefore don't need to have lots and lots of different bags. So
Mm.
that sustainability angle really plays to our audience, and I think it should play to other people that want something that, we offer a lifetime guarantee with our bags. So we really stand behind this longevity and the quality, because I think that then does tick those boxes.
Yeah.
And having something that will last, that you can then pass down, or you could pass to somebody else, or you can change the look of. These are all, things that will definitely help the planet in our small way.
Absolutely. No, totally. And, obviously you're a bag designer. What challenges have you faced doing this? There's so many elements. People see the finished product, don't they? But when you're putting it to market,
Yes.
or when
Yeah.
you're getting the stocks, or you're getting your first sample and you're checking creative, the control of it, what things have you faced that, people wouldn't ordinarily even seen on the
Yeah,
outset?
you would have seen. So one of the things I remember, and in fact, it's funny because I was out seeing a company today, and I was having this very conversation. And one of the things when I first started designing, I wasn't really aware that all of the ironmongery or the hardware that's on a bag is
Mhm.
often specifically designed for that bag. So of course I was doing all these designs. I was like, oh, I could make this little bit, this little piece could attach on. And I realized that I would never be able to get these pieces because you have to have them made specifically, and you have to have them made to minimum order quantity. So like 1,000 plus for a
Yeah.
certain type of bit of hardware. So of course I was like, oh, I just had not realized that.
Mhm.
And then being for people to be able to actually find us in the early days, that was really difficult, because when you're a small business, people are scared in case you don't pay your bills, or you're a new designer, or you're a flash in the pan, and you're not. The main thing everyone's thinking about is, well, they might not be here next week,
Mm.
and they're not going to make the minimums. So that was very difficult, and of course, it didn't help that I had no network. I had a massive network in IT, but
Yeah,
nothing
nothing in
at
that
all
world.
in the fashion world. So I literally was starting from ground zero.
Wow.
So I guess if I had the time again, and I didn't have a passion for making things and didn't want a complete change, you'd say, well, if you're going to start a business, you should really do it in something that's aligned
Yeah.
with what your career was.
Well, that's what's exciting about it, isn't
Yes.
it? You could have
Yeah.
you could easily, well, you could have, maybe you could start a startup, and known
Yes.
that process.
Yes.
You use all the skills that you have to make your business that you have now better. So, for example, my background is corporate, and I've used that in how I deal with professionalism. And I turn up, like, what's really funny about me, when you're in our industry, we do a thing called step and repeat. And that is, you go against a branding board, you have the press, they take pictures of you and all of that. And
Yeah.
I kept on getting there on time. You're not supposed to. The whole idea is that, you're the artist and you turn up and it's all that
You're
exciting.
late.
So you
I'd
have to
be
be,
with you. Yeah.
so you
Yeah.
have to be a little bit delayed, but I wasn't used to doing that. They want me there. So
Of
things like
course.
that,
Yes.
the opposite to what I've been taught in my industry, but the professionalism and how we correspond, and hopefully that comes across. I've then used that within my industry, and hopefully that's why I've been able to do what I've done. So
Yes.
it's
Yeah,
fun.
you're quite right. Yeah. So actually, nothing you've learned in any career is ever wasted. I think that's what I've probably learned. And you're right. There are really good foundations of the way you should do business from the whole corporate and tech world.
Yeah.
You know, I don't leave emails unanswered for weeks on end, which seems to be a habit of anybody else in the
Yeah,
fashion industry. And I'm like, how do
absolutely.
you just not answer your email? Can you
No,
imagine not answering your emails in
never.
corporate world or tech? People are like,
Yeah,
"Oh, you've got to always be on." So, yeah, you just
right.
can't do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're right. Nothing's wasted. Nothing is wasted, and any experience that you've got, it helps, I think.
I absolutely agree. And then also, like, how do you stay on top of the trends? Is it like you're big on social media? Because obviously TikTok is the thing and Instagram is forever changing. You know, I find myself, I've got to literally scroll at certain times in the day just so I can see what's happening. You know, we now find so much of our news on this place, don't we? Instagram or Twitter is where we find,
Yeah.
and then I'll go on to Google to double check. So, you know,
Just in
true, isn't it?
case it's not fake
Yeah,
news. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I think it's like you say, it's just a range of different places. I mean, there's lots of places there's lots of shows to go to from the point of view of fashion. And although, there's lots of talk about sustainability in fashion, it's a whole big, massive, we could spend the next week just talking about that.
Yes,
Um, but there is, they do make it forward. So that helps, collections are being planned. We've already planned everything for next year because of the way production is. Even though, it's very automated, there are still, machinists are still needed, which is still a human. Everyone talks about AI, but, it's going to be very difficult for some of these things where creative
absolutely.
outputs like, making clothing, it still requires humans in amongst all of that. So everyone's paying it forward. So that gives me a chance on the research side to see the trends that other people are predicting. And then you're right, then you've got all the tech things to do with all the algorithms and just the ever shifting movement of tech is just, I think if I can think of anything, it's just so fast. So much faster than it was when the internet started and, hard to keep on top of really. And even my kids who are like sort of mid-20s now, even they're finding it like, "Oh, I haven't heard about this. Oh, there's that. Oh, what about this?" So it's like everyone trying to keep on top of all of these things. So yeah, I think it's just a lot of reading, a lot of educating, a lot of being open. And as far as I'm concerned, every day is a school day anyway. And I'm slightly mistrustful of anybody that thinks they know everything because I kind of feel that it's impossible to know everything, and you've really got to be willing to listen and be open to new ideas. So that's something I definitely try and put into my own team, and make them sort of listen and think about things. And you've got to get out. You've got to be receptive.
You do. No, I think it's amazing, ladies and gentlemen. When you think about, I love when you said about every day's a school day. Literally, every day is an opportunity to learn, isn't it? And that is how we grow.
Absolutely.
Inevitably, is how we
Yes.
grow, and we learn so much from the younger people, from older people who have had stories and experiences. And I totally agree. I can't keep on top with all the things that happen in the tech world. Like I'm on various subscriptions and newsletters about what Meta's doing, what Instagram's doing, and it's like, okay, do I what do I have to do for this? And but I think we have to sometimes slow it down because we can get caught up. I think what the pandemic did was get us to slow down, start taking in the fresh air, walking. So every so often I almost kind
Yes.
of unplug because you have to, because otherwise it gets overwhelming, doesn't it?
Yes, it is true. Yeah. And I was actually reading something the other day that was just saying that lots of these older type hobbies are now coming back. So people are picking up knitting
Oh
and
wow.
picking up crochet to learning how to sew a button on again, I can't believe that people don't know how to sew a button on. But of course, if we don't teach it at school, often, and unless your mother or father have learnt sewing skills.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice that people have used that pandemic time, and I think that people are more open to reflection now,
Yes.
and willing to try different types of things, which I think is nice. And I suppose with the cost of living, people are realizing that we shouldn't be such a throwaway society because you know, if you can't be bothered to sew a button on, then you still got to go and buy a new shirt, so, or a new
Mm,
blouse.
it's true.
And so sort of think twice about that.
Yeah, recycling,
Yeah.
upcycling. There's so many programs
All of
on TV that talks it. It's amazing. I think it's lovely. You can restore something as opposed to buying
yes,
something. Obviously,
yeah.
retailers, they want you to buy, which you do. But if you buy something, as you said, your brand, you can then change it and alter it. So you've got a new bag effectively, haven't you?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And so it's playing to that whole side of things, I think. And that's, I think, what's quite exciting. And for us, for our brand, I think it is exciting because as the generation coming through, they have a much higher expectation of what's considered right for the environment. So I think that we'll be able to play to that as the years go on. So that's good as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree. And what advice would you give to any entrepreneur starting out? I know there's loads.
Yes.
Any nuggets of success? Maybe about four or five.
Yeah. Four things. Four. 10, 20, God, so you're right, so many, because I think one thing for me is I've always tried to be open in terms of the every day a school day thing for me really is. And I think all entrepreneurs should be willing to sort of be willing to learn because nobody knows everything. So, and I think as an entrepreneur, it's almost incumbent upon you because
Mm,
otherwise you'll get left behind. There's always something new. There's always a new kid on the block. So being learning education. I think the good thing on top of that really is being able to look upwards and outwards. One
mm,
of the things that's very tough with an entrepreneur, and I do it myself as well, you get so caught up in your own story, your own what you're doing and what you're putting out there that you often miss or forget that we're in a massive world, and you really do need to look upwards and outwards.
yeah.
I think that's quite important.
Mm,
And really, the no entrepreneur can survive without a customer and looking after your customers. And I think we're all too frivolous with our inability to look after customers.
mm,
And I think expectation is higher on customers' sides these days. They
yeah.
expect to be looked after. The days of the anonymous call center and global anonymous brands, I think, are over. And I
Mm,
think the internet itself has been an enabler of that.
yeah.
Small brands like me have the opportunity to exist. So I think these sort of three key things: customers and looking in upwards and outwards, and being willing to educate. I think for any entrepreneur. Now, as we say, there's thousands more things,
Yeah, I like
but
those. I
I
love
think,
that. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm
I
sure
think
my audience, the people
these
who
are
are inspiring. I love the childlike. I love the fact you're learning. I love you said, your customer service. People don't realize that is across every industry. You don't have a customer, you have no business.
no,
You've got
without it, yeah,
nurture, and then if they disappear, because they do financially, there's a
yes,
lot going
yeah,
on, you then see how you can get them back and you give them that comfort and you make them feel special. I've always seen, obviously you're online, but when you got into a store versus me buying, not buying, because just the fact they welcomed me, I just felt so special. I was like, oh, and when I put something on, they commented, and before you know it, the whole experience made
yes,
me feel like an amazing consumer, and that's what you want to
yeah.
feel like, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's so it's so true, and it's one thing that we are very good at. I hate it if you can't get a good service. I think customers, whatever they're spending, should be entitled to a good service. It should be backed up, and people should be made to feel special,
Yeah.
because you're asking people to give purchase from you, so you have to support them as well. And we've been very strong in that regard, and it's something that we've used to build our own community. And we really are all about trying to bring joy to our customers, and we genuinely stand behind that. And we will definitely go the extra mile. I think it's just insane not to. I don't understand brands that just don't. So
You've gone one step further. You've got like a big Facebook group where all your clients, your customers come together and share experiences, which I think is amazing. So
yeah,
that's
that's
your
lovely.
community. You're doing that, aren't you?
Yeah, and I think more brands should do that, you know? It's not only is it good to know your customers, and it's an excellent way of knowing them, but it's also giving back to them. It's also listening to them, and all your customers have got great ideas, and they can give me ideas, and they say something about, "Oh, if only you could do this, you go and do that," and I'll think, actually, maybe I can do that. Maybe that's a new thing that I
Mm,
can give back to customers and make this product more versatile and more functional for them."
mm,
And that sort of bonding over a shared experience, which is, they all love handbags, but to be able to take that into the next level and create something that is really community and customer has been something that I've never expected, to be honest. And though I would have liked to have, sort of dreamt that we would have a good service, um, I never thought that it would be in the way that it has come about.
that's
So I definitely urge other brands to think about creating a community and just general good service.
and you can't go wrong. That's what's kept businesses alive for generations, isn't it? That people
Generations, that's right.
love the product and
Yeah,
then love the
yeah,
service. That's it. That's the ingredient. Some people don't realize it's basics, isn't it? And if you do that, which
it is
you're
basic.
that will assist you. And then what's next? We're coming up to the festive season. Ladies, I know you're going to be rushing onto the website. And I find it I go shopping and I'm like, okay, this is my list, but you find yourself buying stuff for yourself. So you got to kind of go, nope,
I
let me
know, isn't that funny? Yes, 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 absolutely, yeah.
yeah. So
So,
what
well, we're finishing the year with quite a few events that we've been going to. So this weekend we were at Stylist Live. Got lots of exciting things. We'll have new bags next year, and we do a complimentary bag promotion. So anyone that purchased from us, rather than collecting points, which I think is really quite boring, um, we have a set sum, and if you spend X with us, then we will give you a free bag that you can only get through this community program.
yeah.
So that gives us plenty of things to design for that. And then we do lots of VIP events where we bring exciting women to come and talk about their lives as well. So it's really just building on this whole community thing.
Mm,
So pretty much might almost be more of the same,
yeah.
but on a bigger scale. So,
Oh,
yeah.
that's wonderful. And where can they get your beautiful bags? Where do they go? What's your stock is? I think it's obviously online in your store, but is it
Yeah.
international focus? Is it UK focus, Europe? Where can they get it?
So yes, at the moment, everything is through our website, www.sarahharan.com.
Mhm,
And we're also we've been starting to do a little bit in the States, but again, all online. And really what we're going to do is do more events, learn the lessons in events, and then we can look at stockists later down the line. Because again, when you're a small business and you're a new business, you don't know all the things that you don't know. So
mhm,
you've got to try lots of different things. And I think over the next year and a half, we will start doing many more pop-ups and learning that whole retail experience so
yeah.
that we then can be in retailers a bit further down the line. So yes, so yeah, we're already booking all our events for next year.
That's fantastic. And it's been an absolute pleasure to have you, Sarah. I'm sure the audience, as I said, hopefully your website goes on fire after this and they're going to investigate and
Yes, that would be lovely.
bags.
Come and have a look.
And I'm very
Yes.
excited for you. What you've done from being in tech to creating a brand, that takes a lot of courage. People don't realize the work and the focus that you have to do to be able to pull this off. And you've done it. And I'm really excited for you.
Yeah.
And I just wish you nothing but success for the future. And I'm really excited to wear one of your bags so I can show my audience exactly how special.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and thank you to your support, and thank you for anyone that listens, because honestly, without the support of people like you and our customers, we couldn't do it anyway. So, and it wouldn't matter how many events I go to, how much money I spend on Facebook advertising, if we can't get our community and new people such as yourself alongside us, then the game is no longer. So, thanks to everybody that's listening, and thanks to you, Renee, for putting up with me.
Oh, no, no, it was an absolute pleasure to have you on the Who Am I Talk. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.